The last budget of this coalition government, the debate about the debates, and of course it's not too late to register to vote. With only 44 days left, this is Samir's Election Watch.
I don't know where the lights are taking us, but something in the night is dangerous, and nothing's holding back the two of us. Baby, this is getting serious. The dangerous.
George Osborne delivered his final budget. He made sure that the tax-free allowance would go up to $10,800 next year and 11,000 the year after. How on earth can he promise this? He's not guaranteed. Oh no, it's raining. It's a bit of both actually. It's like it's sunny and it's raining at the same time. One person at a time. Have you ever been familiar with that sort of situation? More than one person talking at once. It's really hard to be able to hear what each person is saying because of the interruptions, the frustrations. Well, it's about to get a whole lot more confusing. Introducing the first 7 leaders' debates, which will happen on the 2nd of April. This is the only one that David Cameron has agreed to, which does pose some questions in itself, I suppose. The fact that he doesn't want Ed Miliband by himself, but he doesn't mind all these other wonderful parties alongside him. 7-way debate. It's a 2-hour programme. I'm not sure how much will actually be covered and how many of these people will be up to scrutiny, but that is what's been agreed on in terms of the debate. That is the only one that will be taking place. There is no head-to-head between David Cameron and Ed Miliband. Right there. But, you know, it's an interesting one. Obviously, many people will be complaining about that, particularly because in 2010, the leaders' debates engaged a total of 22 million people in the British public, which is phenomenal viewership, and that's why a lot of people wanted them to go ahead. Some people don't give a shit, don't give a donkeys, and that's perfectly understandable because it is politics. And others feel... This little chappy over here. Others feel that by exposing yourself to the British public too much, you're putting yourself in a negative position because the truth will out the more you are scrutinised. And just a point here about the fact that people can't use 2 hours worth of a debate to inform their decision for who to vote for because that party might not present themselves in the best light. Well, in that case, of course it's possible to make mistakes. Of course you can't judge some party's ability in a 2-hour segment. Then why on earth have they scrapped the rules on AS levels? Because that's exactly what the government is going to tell you now. At the end of year 13, starting for students starting year 12 in September this year, at the end of year 13 they're going to have an exam which will cater for their entire A-level grade. Surely that's not fair, is it? Surely you'd be working really, really hard across the year, doing really well, and the exam nerves, stress gets to you and you don't perform accurately, and it's not a fair representation of your work over the course of those 2 years. How on earth is that fair? Can I ask the government or whoever else? Yeah, I just wanted to put that in there. Now, we all know that young people don't vote, but in fact, this time round, it's even more so because, of course, Nick Clegg, quite simply. Let's not dwell on that too much. It was just tuition fees, even though that was quite a big, broken promise. But nonetheless, you should not lose your power. There are so many people that want to be able to vote that can't. There are so many 16-year-olds that are dying to vote that can't. You've got to vote, use it or lose it. Don't listen to me, listen to some other guy who does a much better job of persuading you. Youth people always complain about never being represented in politics, but the main issue here is the fact that young people don't vote, and that is the problem. We've got a media, we've got a government, we've got a nation saying that the youth are lazy. The fact that we can't do a simple cross on election day proves that. So a message to all the youth out there: if you don't vote, your voice is not going to be heard, it's not going to be counted, and that's why politicians' laws go against us. Stand up, be counted. Wise words indeed. So if you haven't done it yet, go on and do it now. It's not even that difficult. Just Google it, or you can go on gov.uk. register to vote. Remember, do it as soon as possible, because if they don't receive your application by the 20th of April, you've missed out. And if you miss out, you don't have a voice. And if you don't have a voice, you can't complain if things you don't agree with happen. So remember that. Yeah, an interesting point that's been coming up quite frequently is who is eligible to vote. I live in the UK, can I vote? Well, it's not quite as simple as that. The 3 conditions that need to be met. If you meet them, go for it. The first one is that to vote in a UK general election, that's what I'm talking about. Obviously, there are different rules for local elections, but we're not talking about that because there is no local election coming up right now. We've got general election, 7th of May, put it in your diary. 3 conditions. First thing, you've got to be 18 years of age or over on polling day, which is the 7th of May, as I just said. Secondly, you must not be subject to any legal incapacity to vote. So you can't be in prison, quite frankly. But there's other rules as well. And finally, you could either be a British citizen or a citizen of the Republic of Ireland or a qualifying Commonwealth citizen. Now, what is that all about? Well, there's a crazy list of Commonwealth countries which all qualify, and I'll just read it to you. Antigua and Barbuda, Australia, the Bahamas,
Bangladesh, Barbados, Belize, Botswana, Brunei, Darussalam, Cameroon, Canada, Cyprus, Dominica,
Fiji. Okay, you get the idea. Gambia, Ghana. Yeah, there's lots on here. Tuvalu as well, because I like the sound of that. Zambia, yeah, okay. Or British Overseas Territories, Bermuda, Falkland Islands, Gibraltar, or even, of course, the British Crown dependencies, so the Isle of Man, Jersey, Guernsey. You remember, you don't even need to turn up, as we said earlier about the cross. You don't even need to turn up, you can just do a postal vote, but make sure that's sent in as soon as possible.